Stranger Things episode starts off with scientists in a lab doing scientisty things in a lab. Cliché. In case you confuse it with June 28th, 1820, the day Colonel Robert Gibbon proved that tomatoes were not poisonous by eating one on the steps of a courthouse in Salem, New Jersey. You'd be surprised how many Colonel Robert Gibbon fans watch YouTube videos that send television shows. Choosing to stand on the laser shooting side of the faulty laser shooting lab equipment. Stealing your people getting electrocuted in slow motion scene from Black Adam.
Даю тебе еще год.
Так точно, товарищ генерал.
So Marty, we done the suburbs, kids on bikes, dressed the main characters as Ghostbusters for one episode, terrible hair, and arcades. What else is there left of 80 cliches to mine? And please don't say, Alf, you know how I feel about that. Well, Stan, we haven't had over-the-top Russian villains yet. Genius, Marty, that's why they pay you the big bucks. We should watch Rocky IV and David Hasselhoff performing in Germany to celebrate. Also, you're literally choking that other scientist to death for asking for more time. But if you are going to give the team an additional year, why bother killing the lead scientist? That just lowers your odds of mission success. Choosing to have your logo read 1 year later instead of June 28th, 1985, or simply June 1985. We now have to be expected to remember what the date was you showed us almost 6 minutes ago, and I am not okay with that. I don't want to remember things. That's why I'm watching TV.
Nobody wants to know you now.
The episode expects us to believe that a teenage boy would stop making out with his girlfriend to sing Corey Hart, and I do not believe you, episode.
Did you see his face?
It was like a tomato.
Yeah, fat tomato.
You say tomato, I say unnecessary body shaming Otto. Discount Uma, Ethan, Thurman, Hawk. Passing up Back to the Future to watch Day of the Dead, and I thought I couldn't love these kids any more than I already do.
See, Lucas, we made it. We missed the previews.
Being upset that you missed the previews. Zero frames unite! And if you get that reference, you're in the cool club. If you didn't get that reference, you're in the even cooler club. And while I did find the kids sneaking into the glorious Day of the Dead sin removal worthy, I would also now rather be watching Day of the Dead than these kids fighting the Upside Down for the 100th time.
The hell?
That's weird.
People not understanding what power outages are.
That isn't gonna work, dingus.
Oh, really?
Men. The real sin is that despite being lost in the Upside Down and possessed across 2 seasons, Will is still in this PTSD-inducing town in season 3 and hasn't even considered moving away yet. Reminding me that you had Samwise f***ing Gamgee on your show and you murdered him in a single season.
This is Gold Leader returning to base. Do you copy? Over.
Gold Leader? Really, Dusty? Someone sure has a high opinion of themselves. You're more like the Red Six of this particular squadron.
At least someone's happy I'm home.
Mistaking the turtle sign for, oh man, give me food, for I'm so happy you're back home. Because let me tell you, turtles do not give a shit about you. F***ing turtles. Making Elle go through the nose bleeding just to make Dustin believe that his toys have come to life. Farrah fauceting Lucas's eyes. It's not as pleasant as it sounds, but your eyelashes will look amazing afterwards.
Hey, Lourdes! No running on my watch!
Parents letting a lifeguard talk to a kid like this. I don't care how lax you think the 80s were or how Cars theme song worthy you find Billy's body to be. This is some sinful bullshit. But also, kids. No wonder downtown Hawkins is being run out of business by Starcourt. They can't even afford to print a legit flyer for their Save Downtown meeting.
A heart-to-heart? What is that?
Me Hopper. Me don't understand human emotions. Me only get one character trait going on 3 seasons now. Discount Gary Busey.
Fellas, in 6 hours we go to print. I need something real.
If you're 6 hours from deadline and don't know what's above the fold yet, you're a shitty newspaper editor. And I hereby sentence you to 1 week of Michael Keaton newspaper boot camp.
An unassembled, one-of-a-kind, battery-powered radio tower.
A ham radio.
Will would be Mr. Obvious at TVSins.
Alrighty, 1 scoop of chocolate. That's $1.25.
Only getting 1 scoop of ice cream, especially at those prices.
You are 046, Popeye.
Robin's such a great addition to the cast. I'd totally remove a sin for her if this board she's holding didn't mean Steve had hit on and asked out 6 different customers today. Don't ask out your customers. That's gross. Definitely don't do it 6 times. It's not baseball. You're not a pitcher getting warmed up in the bullpen. Also, Robin crossed her tally marks from right to left, which makes her a psychopath.
Maybe you just kill Mike. I'm the chief of police. I could cover it up.
Joking about using your position to cover up child murder.
Aren't we high enough? Cerebro works best at 100 meters.
Using the metric system. You're in America, Dustin.
Curfew at 4? They're lying.
Come on, Mike. You're the dungeon master. You should know that to lie effectively, you need to dump more points into charisma. Don't make charisma your dump stat. That's what wisdom is for. Oh, goody. Looks like season 3's big bad will be the Pied Piper of Hawkins?
I could teach you if you like.
Oh.
I know all the styles. Freestyle, butterfly,
Aww.
breaststroke.
Ew. Oh, so we're still on this forced adultery C plot line? Cool. Any chance we can cut to something more exciting, like maybe Ben Stein giving a 6-hour lecture on the evolution of bascule bridge hydraulic systems from 1893 to now?
Did you seriously just drink the rest of our water?
Well, I agree this was a dick move. The real fault lies with just bringing one canteen for 6 people. Each of you should have brought your own water supplies before going hiking. Episode doesn't know how to outdoors correctly. Dumping, projecting, assembling, excitement. Microwaving your leftovers instead of wrapping them in foil and putting them in the oven. Congrats on your heated casserole that'll come out somehow dried and mushy while still being cold in the center. Also, there's no chance the lasagna and peas heat up for the same amount of time, so either you'll have cold lasagna or overheated peas. We wouldn't dare play the music, but between the Corey Hartness from earlier and now REO Speedwagon, I think it's time we send Mike and Elle for picking the worst music to make out to. I know you didn't have Portishead yet, but you had modern English. Not bothering to repair the door to your room and instead just hanging a curtain. I understand the cabin saw a lot of damage in the last season, but this is your bedroom, which is presumably a place where you are occasionally without apparel. Get a f***ing door.
What I wanted to say to you.
Uh-oh. I think we're in trouble.
Mike survives this.
You want to see real crazy?
Oh no, Hopper, don't show him your Hellboy movie. That's cruel and unusual punishment even for an annoying brat like Mike.
Susie, this is Dustin. Do you copy? Over.
What's powering this ham radio? I can believe these kids hauled a battery pack up the hill, but it's now several hours later. You expect me to believe a battery pack from the 80s lasted this long? Because if you do, let me tell you about my original Game Boy and how many hours 4 AA batteries got me. Dustin's discount ham radio conveniently picking up Russian code words that relate directly to the Upside Down, and whatever the f*** is happening in Hawkins this season is convenient. Huh. That seems like an impractical outfit for a nighttime swimming lesson. And is your makeup waterproof? I'm so very confused by this attire. Jump scares. Waiting until season 3 for karma, or stairs, to hit Billy in the nuts. Opening our episode with a fucking jump scare. I just dumped my whole bowl of Doritos on the floor. Do you have any idea how much Doritos are now? It's like $7 for a bag that's 43% air. 3 sins for ruining sin snacks.
911, what's your emergency?
Oh, yeah, well, I was just in a tentacle hentai and it was not consensual. Also, why are you getting out of the car? You could just drive to the hospital or the police. Why stop on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere?
Hey, I said, what do you want?
Advancing toward the creepy group of shadowy figures instead of running the f*** away. How do you think Will survived so long in the first season? He ran. Wait, is that a clone of Billy? Am I still watching Stranger Things? Or did I accidentally start that weird Paul Rudd clone series? Damn it, where's the remote?
It's my Nana. She's very sick.
Rookie move, Mike. Dying grandparents are for work. You can't use that for your girlfriend. For them, just tell them you're getting your hair done or that your trunk is leaking. That always works for me. On me.
What, Mom?
He's covering the receiver of the phone even though he wants Eleven to hear him fake call his mom. Adoptive daughter who I made great pains to bond with through our shared trauma is having an awful day. Things are looking up for me.
It's not a date.
We never said anything about a date.
I know. I didn't say anything about a date.
This joke was funnier when the Mets were scouting George. No, you know what that means. D-Magneto, the master of demagnetism, was here.
And then we never have to work at the hole again.
Maybe Jonathan likes working there, and you shouldn't risk his job over your long shot story. These two are such a joy together that I almost removed a sin. But then Steve took a lightsaber to the stomach and made a bleeding motion. Everyone knows that lightsabers burn so hot that they instantly cauterize every wound. Come on, Steve, you know better than that.
They ditched me yesterday.
They didn't ditch you, asshole. All of your friends hiked with you to the hill. Mike and Elle left early, sure, but Lucas, Will, and Max all stayed with you until it was dark. That is the opposite of ditching.
Just speak louder.
I intercepted a secret Russian communication.
Watching this scene with subtitles on totally ruins it. They should make the subtitles really teeny tiny at first and then progressively larger. And yes, we did the same thing, but they started it.
Translation.
He's going to Steve for help with Russian translation? I wouldn't go to Steve for anything besides hair advice or maybe babysitting.
But friends don't lie.
Sure they don't, and I don't skip the boring syrupy touchy-feely scenes.
You're gonna treat him like garbage. Give him a taste of his own medicine.
This is horrible advice, but I'll be damned if it isn't the prevailing wisdom of the day. Aw, Look at me, getting all wistful.
Max has dumped me 5 times.
Getting back together with Lucas 5 times.
Guys, I'm still here.
You know, outside of horrifying and life-threatening situation, the guys here are kind of jerks, huh? Why did he go to work like this? If I was face-hugged by a demonic entity, I'd have taken at least a 3-day weekend.
Why are you listening to the music, Steve?
Why are you ignoring important clues, Dustin?
And how do you know these Russians are up to no good anyways?
It's the 80s. They're Russians. Them being the bad guys is as American as f***ing an apple pie. Here we have Steve holding a banana, even though he just dropped it.
This way.
Following a strange old woman into a dark and creepy basement. I can think of at least 4 horror films that warn against this.
Why would rats want to eat a poor old woman's fertilizer?
Asking a high school student this question instead of an exterminator.
Oh, yes, I forgot to mention. I caught one of the little bastards.
I can see forgetting to take your morning pills or forgetting your glasses are on top of your head, but I don't see forgetting about the demonic rabid rat you caught. Leading with a parade prep story instead of the new fireworks viewing locations. No reader cares about what happens to get the parade ready. They just want to stand on the street like idiots and gawk at slow-moving vehicles. But you know what readers will care about? If you're moving the location of their annual community fireworks show. That should be the top story with art. Also, why is a wire feed story on the front page? The Hawkins Post didn't have enough content to keep their whole front page local? I saw almost a dozen reporters in the news meeting earlier.
That's just good old-fashioned American capitalism.
Damn, Bill was right. Jonas really did go out and get himself some corporate sponsors.
You have superpowers. What's the worst that could happen?
A large amount of people finding out she has superpowers and then the government taking her away to turn her into an assassin. Oh, you said worst that could happen. Yeah, probably death by piranhas.
You've never been shopping before, have you?
What gave it away? Her look of wonderment at the crowded petri dish that is a mall during daylight hours, or the fact that she's wearing a shirt from Hand-Me-Down Hopper's boutique? Reading.
Hello?
When you're trying to learn something new, you don't need to take out every book on that subject. That'll get you on some kind of list. And a future full of back pain. Answering the garage door while wearing your headband magnifier headset. And then another sin for it having such a boring name. Work with me here, nerds. Name your stuff something cool like Magna Eyes. Yeah, I like that. Magna Eyes. Yeah, that's good.
You gotta keep doing this until you stop moving, you little shit.
Have you tried a faster shutter speed? How do you think sports photographers do their job? They don't ask the players to stand still. If you can't grab action shots, you need a new career.
A regular little detective, aren't you?
She is not. The writers just realized she needed a new character direction when she stopped being Steve's girlfriend and went with reporter for some reason.
I just think there's something really wrong with this rat.
Yeah, no
Blowing off the star of your story. Waiting until everyone leaves before exploding into gelatin. Also, it still has its tail. Nope. That. It's in. I understand Will's response, but why are Lucas and Mike shying away? Is it the mannequins? Yeah, I guess they make it kind of weird, but some people like that. Ha ha ha, yeah, those girls looked at us funny because we were being obnoxious and loud. Let's punish them and ruin their whole day. Ha ha ha, yeah, good clean fun. You know, outside of horrifying and life-threatening situations, the gals are kind of jerks, huh?
Can we please play D&D now?
I'm sure you can play D&D with 3 people, but is it even fun? Shorting Eleven's ice cream cone like she couldn't crush your skull with her thoughts in retaliation. Also, why didn't you tell Dustin she was there? They're like friends.
Why do you lie?
I assume for the same reason I do, to avoid long conversations and to get out of trouble for a little while until I can no longer remember the lie and my troubles double. It's a fun cycle.
Yeah.
You know, outside of horrifying and life-threatening situations, Hopper is kind of a jerk, huh?
How's your Chianti?
Our Chianti is quite good.
Being snooty about your alcohol pronunciations when you work at a restaurant in rural Indiana. Also not recommending that Hopper pair that Chianti with some fava beans and liver.
We cured polio in '53.
Nope, the first polio vaccine didn't arrive until a couple years later, and it's not actually really cured. Aren't you a science teacher?
Maybe they have horses like this in Russia.
Nah, in Soviet Russia, horses like this have you. That one goes out to our 2 Yakov fans in Branson. Hope you enjoyed it.
This code, it didn't come from Russia. It came from here.
Thrilling, great cliffhanger, but more importantly, are they allowed to still be at the mall? Like, are they responsible for locking it up? Because that would make me nervous. I would not trust them to do that. How does Billy manage to kidnap her and get her to his car in the middle of a crowded public pool? What, was he possessed by Houdini?
It'll be over, son. Just stay very still.
It's strange that this is the exact same advice I receive every time I meet a new Chihuahua.
Oh, you found Ralph Macchio.
Oh, sure, you like him now, but you'll hate him in about 5 years when Karate Kid 3 comes out. Then a few decades later when Cobra Kai comes out, you'll love him again. Trust nothing from your childhood, 11.
He's my first boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend.
3 episodes in, and other than a little lifeguard possession and some fun with magnets, we've been absolutely butchered with teen boyfriend drama, teen girlfriend drama, and Hopper dealing with teen boyfriend and girlfriend drama, and that's just not how I like my things to be strangered, okay?
I guarantee you, him and Lucas are like totally wallowing in self-pity and misery. We're going, oh, I hope they take us back.
Man, we sure do bake this manipulative shit into our kids young, don't we? Love to simply sin the 80s, but we're still putting this shit in shows today, and probably will be well into the 2080s.
God, what I wouldn't give to see their stupid faces.
Does it include giving your friend a possible brain aneurysm? Because everyone present must know these nosebleeds aren't a good sign. Also, I see we're back to Elle needing static and a blindfold to use her powers. Strange how she didn't need those things at her aunt's house or in Chicago. Consistency? Never heard of her.
Yeah, we're trying to solve the great mystery of the female species.
And I'm trying to solve the mystery of why everything at this table is in understandable teenager chaos, and yet the drinks are product placemented perfectly to face the camera. Also, I'm trying to work out the odds of these kids drinking the only available for a matter of months in 1985 new Coke without this room also being covered in vomit. Come to think of it, maybe they should have called this season New Stranger Things.
Hey! When I say 3 inches!
You know, drunk Hopper storming into Eleven's room to scream at her for existing might be my least favorite flavor of Hopper. Being complacent enough to assume that just because there isn't a boy in Eleven's room, she won't be getting into any trouble. She's a teenager, Hop. She'll be in trouble before your blood has had a chance to assert itself back into your alcohol system.
Mr. Wheeler. Oh, boring.
Then why was Mr. Wheeler even an option? The beauty of this game is that you choose the names. You never have to write down a boring name, and what's the point of randomly spinning the bottle if you disregard its destined outcome? Was it just to demonstrate your ability to flaunt the rules, you rule flaunters?
Okay, look, I should just warn you, if he's with a girl or doing something gross, just get out of there right away before you're scarred for life.
Or you could remove his name and not spy on your brother just in case he's doing something you don't want to witness with or without a partner, which at his age is 95% likely at this time of night. Or, you know, spin again since the rules clearly don't mean shit to you people.
I found him. What's he doing?
Hold up, Max. Let's ask the more important question. Why did the radio static stop? Because I don't hear it anymore, and Eleven supposedly needs it for her powers. Does she not? Has she suddenly decided to use the non-diegetic music instead?
I'll be over, son.
Max and Elle managed to pick the one person in their circle to spy on who's been possessed by the Upside Down. And while he's mid-kidnapping, no less. An especially wild coincidence considering Patrick Swayze was on the table. Look, I'm fine with Beelzebub sensing Elle's presence, totally makes sense. But would he have really seen an actual smoky version of her apparate in the room? And if Elle is invisibly occupying the physical space she's spying on, why not just show that? Is it just because the black void and water look cooler? It is, isn't it?
A tribe of villagers are under threat from an evil force from the swamps of Kuzatan.
Well, it's so early.
Damn it, Mike, shut up! This villager attack is the first interesting arc we've had all season. The episode has time for a full 30 seconds of Hopper's morning routine.
Okay, you're freaking me out.
Joyce appears psychotic while actually being psychic and predicting the core of the season's mystery. Cliché.
You stand me up, no phone call, no apology, because you had to go to Scott Clark's house.
On second thought, jealous Hopper might actually be my least favorite flavor Hopper.
It can't just be a coincidence, Hopper. It has to be them.
Joyce, stop.
It has to be the lab.
It does not. And even if it is those wacky scientists, why would they go back to the first place people would look for them? Okay, it's where the portal to the Upside Down is, but surely somebody would have noticed a giant f***ing magnet disruptor being built there, right?
Because God forbid any of us move on.
Dude, she is less than a year after watching her boyfriend get eaten alive by demon puppies from hell. I know mental health isn't exactly a thing that existed in 1985, but you'd think Hopper in particular would be aware of the toll losing a loved one takes on a person. I did my due diligence and can confirm that these covers do, in fact, come from February and April of 1985, which is the same year that Season 3 is set. I can also confirm that neither of those covers appeared from 1986 through 2016. I was very thorough. Kids.
Where's the sailor man?
Sorry, he can't help you. He's busy.
Busy with what?
Spycraft.
Do you maybe don't want to share that with a kid who will likely blab that to the whole mall? Even if she doesn't believe it, you know she's telling everyone who will listen that she's not getting free samples because spy shit is happening.
Because that's how this works, Henderson. I give you the advice, you follow through.
And how well did your advice work for Dustin at the end of last season's school dance?
I'll use my torch to set fire to the chambers, sacrificing ourselves, killing the Jujus, and saving the Kuazar.
Assuming that Lucas's character and the Jujus don't get a deck save to avoid your torch fire. Jeez, even the fireball spell has everyone make a deck save for half damage, not to mention someone throwing out a counter spell.
Nope. We're just good Samaritans.
Choosing the Good Samaritan for your parable when what you're actually doing is more akin to the parable of the lost sheep. If the pool just closed because of the storm, why isn't this changing room absolutely filled with people getting changed?
What do you see? A door. A red door.
What she sees is a red doors are spooky cliche. See Insidious or Picard Season 3 for reference. Okay, but why can Heather see L2? First I thought it was because Heather was now possessed by the Upside Down, but this is clearly normal Heather calling for help. I feel like L's powers care way more about putting on a good show for us than they actually should. You'd think that whoever is using the top secret lab that's supposed to be abandoned would find a way to prevent the obviously blinking camera situation. However, I think the episode is more concerned with this cool transition to Dustin's binoculars than answering my nitpicking.
Evil Russian.
Wow, this guy looks super intense and fits the exact description of the mystery Russian spy they invented, including paranoid shoulder checking, right up until the point the story doesn't want him to be this way anymore.
Who is ready to sweat?
As Wake Me Up Before You Go plays, I have to say that while they lack structure and can be difficult to follow, Wham is not jazz.
When blue and yellow meet in the west, I cracked it.
So Robin figures out the Russian code because it, fortunately, describes a delivery that's about to happen by referring to things in the mall. The boxes I can kind of understand, but there was no reason to use the mall's fucking clock because unless I'm mistaken, clocks all work the same fucking way. They could have just said when the hands meet in the west, or, you know, use some actual grown-up KGB code like the fucking Fialka. Also, I'm pretty mad that code or no code, Robin was able to translate this in a cave with a bunch of snacks.
But it's just some stupid story.
Oh, it's stupid?
It's stupid to get fired over.
No one's going to fire us.
Well, maybe not before, but now that you've said that, the writers have literally no choice but to make sure you get fired.
Look, if you don't want to go, that's fine. Just give me the keys.
You're relentless, you know that?
I think you mean manipulative. Nancy Wheeler is emotionally manipulative. And I'm so happy Steve is free of her. Also, while we have a moment, I'd like to point out that we have two sets of characters in the same episode where one person wants to investigate a hunch and manipulates a reluctant man into embarking on said hunch under threat of going alone. Twice. Same episode. Twice.
All the cavities have been filled.
Title of my sex tape?
You know that I'm keeping a close eye on things, right?
She also knows that you have an unhealthy vendetta against Eleven's boyfriend, so I think you can forgive her for not being completely convinced by this.
After Sarah.
Skip.
Will, I'm sorry, man, all right? I was being a total asshole.
I don't think I agree with that assessment, Mikey. It was pretty clear that you and Lucas didn't want to play Dungeons & Dragons, and yet you did because you knew it would make your friend happy even though you were distracted by a breakup. Will's the one that's being kind of a jerk and insisting that nothing ever changes so he can carry on playing games forever and stormed off when he couldn't get his way.
Stupid. This is stupid.
I agree. It was stupid of you to put not waterproof things inside your not waterproof shelter. Also, despite what I said about Will being the jerk, it sure would be nice if Will had some kind of support system or adult in his life that he could turn to right now, like a Mom Joyce. If I've learned anything from The Last of Us, horror movies, and life in general, it's that if you see an old lady hunched over eating something, you leave. You leave right now.
Well, I think we found your Russians.
Sure, but the more important question is, how did they not find you? And the answer is, of course, the magic of an off-camera escape. This Russian spy sure has a flair for the dramatic as he waits for the lightning to reveal himself before attacking. Oh cool, dark footage, rapidly cut editing, and shaky cam. That's like Sugar, Spice, and everything nice. But instead of the Powerpuff Girls, you just get dizzy and cinny.
Is this it?
Wait, did they just ride around the neighborhood in the dark in a storm until they found a red door with this number? How many streets did they have to cycle up and down before finding this place?
Where is she?
I'm sorry. Where is who?
Well, they're a little burnt.
She was apparently waiting for a dramatically perfect entrance. What exactly is Billy Zabub's plan here? I'm guessing that he set up this cozy dinner because he knew that Max and Elle were coming over and wanted to throw them off the trail before taking out Heather's parents. But why not just take care of Max and Elle here and now? Why let them go? Previously on Stranger Things. And yes, I know it's kind of cool because it's showing that Billy Zabub remembers getting zapped by 11, but damn it, we know you just want to reuse that cool shot.
I'm really sorry about this, Daddy.
Oh, sure, it's fine when she says it, but when I say this during a confessional. Horror TV show opens up on a dark and stormy night cliche. Yes, it's better than having to watch someone vomit, but still I have no interest in watching anyone brush their teeth on TV. I'm more than willing to believe that every character has good hygiene without having to witness every step they take to ensure that they do.
Which one?
Pretending like there's a choice to be made here. That's Green Lantern 185. Here's the origin story of John Stewart, arguably the best Green Lantern in existence. You pick John first. Diana's patient. She can wait.
Doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense?
Conversations about season 4 of Stranger Things somehow make their way into a season 3 episode of Stranger Things.
We both saw her. She's totally fine.
I don't know, Max. The way she offered you those freshly baked cookies was a little Stepford Wives for my taste. And you didn't even tell her to blink if she needed help.
You two want to explain to me what in the name of Jesus just happened here?
Thinking Jesus had anything to do with the possessed woman eating fertilizer. Save the Jesus B plotline for season 4 when the satanic panic sets in for way too many episodes. I'd like to go back to Billy saying,
"Try not to move."
And I'd like him to be a little more specific, because both of them are clearly moving. Not taking the man who was beaten unconscious to the hospital. Dude probably has a concussion and you think he should just sleep that off on the couch? Also, how did Joyce get Hopper from the government facility to his couch? I know she's strong and determined, but in what world is Joyce the cashier lifting Hopper the dad bod, getting him into his Jeep, driving to the cabin, dragging him inside and putting him on the couch? Because I gotta tell you, I don't see it.
Where are my clothes?
The important question is, how did he not already realize he didn't have clothes on? I don't care how out of it you are, there's no mistaking Hopper Jr. roaming free in the wild. Grabbing a beer first thing after you woke up vomiting. Even in the 80s, this was frowned upon. More than New Coke. Okay, maybe not more than New Coke.
Yeah, but if he's government, what's he doing slinking around?
Do you know the government, Hopper? Slinking around is like half of what our tax dollars pay for. You haven't had Fourth Amendment protection since 1947.
What are you wearing?
Well, seeing as this is 1985, I'm going to say it's his best impression of Miami Vice. Because you know we got to get all those member berries in there.
She turned it off.
Did they just leave the walkie-talkies on all the time? Because that has to eat a ton of batteries, right? Like their entire allowance must go to batteries. Trying not to draw attention to yourself by standing guard outside the back of a mall in the 1980s holding a assault weapon.
Now, we're a small town paper, but we have something the big papers don't have. Trust.
Implying that your newspaper has more trust than the Indianapolis Star, which has won 3 Pulitzers and reported on things like police corruption and medical malpractice. You report on parade logistics. Calm down.
I closed the gate.
I know, but what if he never left?
Then season 2 was a lie, and there was no resolution to anything that happened. That actually checks out.
Well, how about drinking on duty? Yeah. We have some real fun stories about that.
Can you put one of those fun stories in this episode? Because we're like 16 minutes in, and it's been a snooze fest so far.
One call to Tom at the Post. And you're done, buddy.
Thinking the Hawkins Post has that much pull. And even if they do, pretty sure the mayor snorting up cocaine and banging his secretary behind his wife's back would be a bigger story than Hopper having a couple of beers on duty.
Who is he? It's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Teasing me with an Arnold Schwarzenegger guest role that will most likely never be fulfilled.
You have records of these purchases? These land purchases?
You don't need mayoral records. Property titles are public record. Just head on down to your county assessor. Come on, Hop, learn a thing or two about open record laws. You are a police officer, right?
I think Tom was on drugs.
It's the 80s, Nancy. Everyone is on drugs.
Those assholes gave us jobs.
Is that what that was? That was humiliating.
I've got news for you. Most jobs are humiliating. Sell your time and humiliate yourself so managers can make the little red line go up. But if you're lucky, you might get paid just enough to make rent and eat a microwave dinner now and again. The American dream.
Well, then I guess we just don't understand each other anymore.
Episode has time for this.
And these air ducts lead all the way here.
Drawing with permanent marker on the new blueprints you just spent $20 on. Were there no pencils back there, Robin?
I'm pretty sure it's gumbo.
Thinking you can identify Cajun food when you're a native Hoosier.
I think I just threw up in my mouth.
Well, that's Mike's fault for opening the door instead of just staying outside and saying, let's trap him in the sauna.
Okay, well, what's the problem?
The problem is, I still haven't heard what's in this for Erica.
Erica's.
That fit is already a super tight fit. All of this ice cream going into one little girl's stomach will only make that fit even tighter.
You know what this half-baked plan of yours sounds like to me? Child endangerment.
Erica would be the strangest hire at TVSins.
And I'm talking free ice cream for life.
But this payout is solely dependent on the idea that Steve and or Robin continue to work at Scoops Ahoy for the rest of their lives. Although to be fair, Steve probably will. So actually this is a good call on Erica's part.
What exactly are we looking at?
Land deeds, transfers of property.
All things that again could have been obtained from the same county building where Robin got her mall blueprints for $20. Seriously, Hop. Sunshine laws. Look them up.
Hess Farm, Henry's Place.
So it's not enough that Larry has all the paperwork to sell out the Russians at Starcourt, but he also has the map of convenience that conveniently gives Joyce the last bit of convenient information she needs. That's f***ing convenient.
So much come work for me at the Hawkins PD.
Wow. Talk about a complete 180 where you suddenly see value in Joyce's findings. Can't wait for the next season where everyone will reset the score and once again dismiss her as a crackpot.
I wasn't thinking about anyone, really.
That's par for the course in your case, Nancy. You're just upset it had consequences this time.
This world, it's never...
I know all the moms want to bone Billy, but not one of them thinks it's weird that he's being all creepy with his creepy lighter flicking and icy cup holding while on duty. Because they f***ing should.
It was a really cool campaign.
Was it though? A village under siege by swamp monsters seems pretty by the book in terms of D&D campaigns. It's not like Will was running Curse of Strahd. And yes, nerds, I know Curse of Strahd came out in 2016, which would have made it impossible for Will to run it in 1985, but that's exactly why it would have been impressive. Thanks for ruining my joke.
Did you spy on me? That's totally against the rules.
I make my own rules.
The NSA.
Booby traps?
If I could see them, they'd be pretty traps.
Yeah, seemed a lot more worried about the booby traps earlier when they first asked you to crawl through the vents.
Free ice cream for life.
Erica's f***ing awesome and all that, but I still feel like I need to sit her parents because they're clearly not concerned at all that their very young daughter has been gone all day and night. We can only use the "it was the 80s" excuse so many times. As much as I too like a glistening wet Billy body, putting your clothes on without completely drying off is disgusting and will always get you a sin.
You think this is funny, huh?
Not particularly, but that's true for most of the season so far.
That's definitely not Chinese food.
Look, none of us actually know what MSG is, so we definitely don't understand its storage process.
Which one do I press, Erica?
Just press the damn button, nerd.
Kids.
You think this is funny?
Not particularly, but that's still true for most of this season so far.
I've done things, Max, really bad things. He made me do it.
Yes, but all the bad things you did in season 2 are your fault. So here's a sin for showing no remorse for those actions.
It's gonna be okay.
It will not be okay for you or for him. So here's a sin for empty reassurances.
He can't get out, can he?
No way.
I wouldn't put too much faith in a single chain that wouldn't even keep your bike from getting stolen in Chicago. Awesome! 2 characters whose powers we don't know the extent of will now blam blam each other for the next few minutes. Excitement? Elle somehow manages to not murder Billy when she throws him through a f***ing brick wall, bringing a slingshot to an interdimensional psychic fight.
My groin. Fell on my groin.
The fact that Steve is able to communicate this fact so coherently would suggest it did not.
She's gonna hunt you down one by one and slit your throat.
Show chose to cut a series-long B-plot where Lucas's mother is a slasher hiding out in rural Indiana and went with Nancy's mother lusting after a teenager instead. Let this be a lesson to you. Always lock the Murphy bed that leads to your underground lab. Discount T2 is doing the classic villain slow walk, but is the classic villain slow walking slow enough for Hopper to have subdued 2 guys he couldn't communicate with? This sin certainly doesn't think so.
I'm gonna count to 3.
Hopper clearly went to the every movie ever school of holding your gun too close to the bad guy while giving them a countdown so they're able to easily disarm you in an episode of Stranger Things. No one getting shot or at least grazed with a ricochet in this tiny and enclosed space is a f***ing script-created miracle.
Hopper!
Throwing guns at your friends. Throwing guns at your friends in a way that leaves me questioning whether they're your friends at all because you're clearly trying to get them killed.
Come on, Smirnoff.
That's vodkist. Wow, I had no idea the Empire even had a Russian campus for training stormtroopers.
Joyce, drive!
Hopper decides that the most efficient way to hand off the keys to their only means of escape is to blindly throw them on the ground and force Joyce to fumble around in the dark for them, instead of waiting until they're in the car to hand them over. You know, the place they'll both be in a few seconds. I get that it's a tense moment, but screaming at someone while they're concentrating isn't going to help. Can you imagine trying to tie your shoes with Hopper screaming, "Tie!"
Is he safe?
Why wouldn't he be safe?
Jonathan, do you not know where you live?
What are they doing?
Illinois. They're going to Illinois.
Elle being confused by the concept of Illinois as if it wasn't the place she went to waste an entire episode finding herself last season. Why is confusion?
They will torture and kill us. Hey!
You gotta take it easy on that thing, okay? You're gonna drain the battery.
Waiting until season 3 of your TV show to worry about the batteries of these walkie-talkies. This is like Star Wars waiting until the sequels to start worrying about ship fuel.
If it comes down to me drinking that shit or dying of thirst, I drink.
By that logic, Erica should have been far more annoyed when Steve wasted all that precious drink a few minutes ago. Asking someone with a lit cigarette if they can smell literally anything.
What time was this attack?
Around 9. What time was your sauna test?
Around 9.
Well, that proves it. That proves my theory.
No, that is circumstantial correlation that adds some weight to your hypothesis. Honestly, it's like they're not even doing real science here. Nancy survives this and isn't righteously sacrificed to the Mind Flayer by Mike, Lucas, Will, or Max. If I took a monkey wrench to the knee, I wouldn't be kneeling like this, that's for sure. In fact, I wish I could kneel like this pre-taking a monkey wrench to the knee. The sin is my knees.
That's why you should listen to Alexi.
Oh, right, yeah. Your new boyfriend, right?
Whoever read the script for Stranger Things 3 and said, "We love Hopper, but we need to dial up the Ross Geller to 11, this sin is for you. Drinking Coke when your goal is hydration.
Just keep your mouth shut, all right?
Telling a guy who no one would understand anyway to keep his mouth shut. Also, telling a guy who doesn't understand what you're saying to keep his mouth shut.
Detective Byers.
Making Joyce a fake detective, but not bothering to come up with a fake name for her, like Detective Too Good For Me.
No, I'm just saying I don't know jack shit about Prometheus.
Don't feel bad, Steve. Most of the people who watched Prometheus didn't know jack shit about Prometheus. That also goes for most of the people who acted in, wrote, and directed Prometheus, too.
Wherever that broadcast is coming from.
It's close.
So close that I'm wondering why Dustin's distress call earlier wasn't picked up by every Russian soldier down here, too. These kids should be surrounded by more Russian muscle than Apollo Creed and Rocky IV. Too soon, I hear you say? Well, how is that possible when this takes place in the summer of 1985 and Rocky IV didn't come out until November of that year? How can it be too soon when it hasn't even happened yet? Yeah, come at me, nerds. I must break you.
It was attacked.
Sure, the first thing I do when I'm amateur analyzing a crime scene is to make sure my very much not police-associated fingerprints are all over the evidence, especially any potential weapons. It really helps me feel like I was there when the crime happened.
They must have taken them somewhere.
Whoa, now there were the presumptions there, Columbiers. You're saying that them not being here led you to deduce that they're somewhere else? How does he do it?
What? What else did you say? This psycho.
Discount Drago chooses conspicuous violence when $5 in these hostess treats would have worked just as well on Mr. Minimum Wage here.
You have dragged an enemy of the state into my home as carelessly as a child drags in on his shoe.
Kids. Also, technically, Hopper dragged an enemy of the state to your front door. You let him in, Murray.
This is not gonna work.
What do you mean?
He's not eccentric. He's certifiable.
Says the woman who's currently chasing down leads based on the hypothesis that the government is f***ing with her fridge magnets. Lest ye be judged, Joyce. Lest ye be judged.
Glass houses, Joyce.
Hopper being less articulate about what I literally just pointed out.
That could be 100 different things.
I'll take those odds.
Taking these odds.
We're gonna move fast. We're gonna stay low.
None of the 7 Russians here see 4 obvious kids walk out of this hallway. You're telling me the 2 guys up here on the walkway didn't notice Steve's gang?
You did it! You want to fight!
Dustin's a wingman we all need, but I need to know why he isn't questioning the simulation he lives in, considering the first fight Steve wins is against a trained soldier in the Russian military.
What are you doing?
I'm getting us our ticket out of here.
I'm also not disarming the radio guy just in case he wakes up and decides to kick Steve's ass for real this time.
There's something up there.
Maximum points to Robin for the impressive feat of making the "you better come take a look at this" cliche 100 times vaguer than it already was. Aw, man, they dragged the poor Loki summoning Tesseract laser thingy from Avengers Assemble into this mess.
You know the rules. 2 visitors at a time.
Nancy chooses Jonathan the Bland for this mission instead of the only party member with actual superpowers.
You know,
Skip. Does your species like M&Ms?
Nice job on the accurate M&M's wrapper from 1985, but the Sprite logo on this vending machine didn't come into circulation until 1989. Oh, so close. This guy's Michael Myersing so hard, I think that Nancy and Jonathan could have taken the elevator, picked up some snacks, taken the elevator back up here, and then taken the stairwell to safety with time to spare. Also, wait, weren't they just in the stairwell? Why didn't they just go all the way down to the ground floor instead of dragging this shit out for another 6 minutes? Yoo-hoo. Ruining the tension of your chase scene with sudden chocolate drink product placement. The Mind Flayer is clearly paying his subjects by the hour, considering how many times Tom Zombie here throws Jonathan around instead of just killing him.
Go to hell!
Inserting weird pauses into your basic one-liners in an attempt to make them more memorable. Will, who's previously sensed upside-down activity from miles away, will somehow not sense it mere floors above him. He only notices something is up when the lights start flickering, which should be an immediate red flag for every single traumatized kid in this waiting room. Wow, how gross. And fascinating. It's a shame that this is something that I, an actual human being, would have completely missed as a result of my already running out of the hospital.
All you need to know is it's bad.
It's really bad.
Like end of the human race as we know it kind of bad.
Thanks, Dustin. That really helps me understand the crazy situation we're in, and I think you will be happy to find out that I have not a single follow-up question. My curiosity only extended to whether or not this was a good or bad thing, and then the approximate nature of the badness should that be the case. Consider my curiosity satisfied.
Steve? Where's your Russian friend?
Erica must be referring to the soldier that Steve slightly dazed last episode who no one decided to tie up or gag or secure in any way at all. Yeah, super weird that he's not here anymore. This base has one of those fancy Hollywood alarm systems that only kicks in after the main characters realize they're in trouble. Blasphemous excitement? Fortunately for Steve, this secret science lab was also studying the oldest known natural predator of the Russian army, the notoriously prolific random stack of empty barrels. Rumor has it that this is the very same stack that killed Stalin back in '53.
He's here.
The gang must be so glad that they finally have Will with them this season. I mean, his buyer's bumps alone have come in super handy at warning them about dangerous after it's blindingly apparent. Episode tries to seizure Nancy to death long before the creature has the opportunity to nom her to death. Nancy survives this. Also, the living lasagna has been brought to life by a body-possessing demon feeding on fertilizer, but apparently that's where the imagination stops, considering its desire to bludgeon people to death against drywall instead of doing something cool like, well, I don't know, but not that. The sludge monster thing procrastinates and plays with its Nancy snack just long enough for Elle to show up and save the day. Also, Elle, you did the same thing a few episodes back when you threw possessed Billy out of the room. At some point, you're going to have to decisively win a fight. Guys, I could continue to telekinetically kick whatever this thing calls its ass, but I think the smarter move is to let it crawl away and regroup so that it's even stronger the next time we meet. It's the last thing Vecna will expect.
It's time.
Yay! But also, why? Why is it suddenly now time? What happened at the hospital that makes it more time now than it was a few hours ago? Especially since later in the episode, it won't be time until Elle gives away their location.
May I suggest you bring some backup with you this time, since last time you got the better of you?
Picking a verbal fight with the 6'3" Russian powerhouse in a dark room with no witnesses.
2 Whoppers, pack of Marlboro Reds, and 1 extra large Slurpee.
The fact that the ignitable cancer sticks might be the least of the health concerns in this list of consumables.
Tell him that it all tastes the goddamn same.
He respectfully disagrees.
No one will be seated as the great Slurpee debate of 1985 rages on while the world is ending.
I have dealt with assholes like this my entire life.
Hasty generalizations. Unless Hopper is failing to mention some other Russian scientist who was withholding information about a science experiment on American soil that he also interrogated that one time. Hasty generalizations that pay off.
Drew the demodogs away so Elle can close the gate.
Dustin choosing this critical moment, where he should be concentrating on their escape, to explain over 2 years of the strangest things.
So I'd estimate 10 miles back to the elevator.
Nope. There's no way you're convincing me that there are 10 miles of Russian-made tunnels under Hawkins. 10 miles! I'll believe in parallel dimensions, other worldly possessions, and Joyce falling for Hopper, but I draw the line at 10 miles of tunnels. Gus Fring spent 3 seasons just trying to dig a single room under his laundromat, so there's no way the Russians dug 10 miles of tunnels in the year between seasons 2 and 3 at the height of the Cold War.
Let's recall the pony's latest adventure, shall we? The evil centaur demon Tyrek turns Applejack into a dragon at Midnight Castle.
It sounds like
Dustin is describing the My Little Pony adventure Rescue at Midnight Castle, which is strange considering it aired in early 1984 and would not have been their latest adventure by any means. Since we know the season takes place during the summer of 1985, the pony's most recent adventure would have been Escape from Katrina. Both adventures were edited into the second season of the My Little Pony TV show, but that didn't air until 1987, which is well after the events here and also reveals the only real nerd around here is I.
I don't know if you have Russian ice cream or if that's considered gelato.
No one will be seated as the great "is Russian ice cream technically gelato" debate of 1985 rages on while the world is ending. This leaflet claims that the reader can expect a fun night of bingo.
What if she gets brain damage or something?
Oh, is that like a real thing?
No, it's not. He made it up.
He is making this up, but Mac's logic would suggest that Elle's persistent nosebleeds are a fluke of correlation and that she's likely just spending too much time digging around in there. Also, the Scooby Gang is back at Hopper's house, but where are the f***ing police? They just left the hospital, which has many, all the lots of dead bodies. Are we saying that receptionist didn't call the police after a blob monster landed in the parking lot minutes after the kids ran upstairs? How are they not wanted for all of the questioning right now?
She's risking her life for no reason.
For no reason. Mike the Fleeter out there doing God knows what.
Killing, flaying,
Transforming into monsters.
This whole group would be excellent at, seriously, what the f*** is Mike talking about, Sins?
I found him.
Found who?
Jesus, of course. Or Billy? I guess Billy's more likely. But I suppose it could also be that missing kid on the milk carton. Nah, it's definitely Jesus. The milk carton kid would be too random, and if it was Billy, she would have just f***ing said Billy.
They're located near Transformers.
The fact that Hopper doesn't ask if Alexi is referring to the electrical or Hasbro variety shows a severe lack of imagination on his part.
Are my free translation services not good enough for you? Because you can just go ahead and file your complaint right up my ass.
Reason 4,500,742 as to why we should never give ChatGPT a personality somehow makes it into the script.
They're using it to penetrate a hole in a box?
Synopsis of my sex tape? Also, Alexi has taken the time to draw out these very technical specs, including one of the upside-down laser, but will instead use these scientific props by Burger King to describe what the Russians are attempting.
Says, of course, he could turn it off. Could Edison not turn off a lamp? Could Bell not hang up a phone?
Comparing turning off a phone or switching off a light to deactivating an interdimensional portal opener. I'm just saying it's quite telling that Alexi didn't list Mr. Oppenheimer as one of his examples here.
But he is now naked. Sorry. Exposed, compromised.
It's not easy to make out, but if we replay it, Alexi definitely mumbles discreditorny, which, as you can probably guess, is the Russian word for discredited, meaning Murray's naked mistranslation joke kind of falls apart. Unless we're saying he seriously confused discredited for naked, exposed, or compromised, the Russian words for which sound nothing like discreditorny. And no, I shall not be pronouncing them to prove my point. You're lucky you got something out of me.
He says he likes your courage. You remind him of a fat Rambo.
Actually, I think you mean Fat First Blood.
It is in an underground fortress guarded by their greatest warriors.
Character describes how impossible it is to break into impossible thing, followed by an immediate cut to unlikely people breaking into impossible thing. Cliche. Hey, props team, we need some kind of liquid thing that screams weird in an 80s way, kind of Ghostbuster-y sludge, but it actually powers a laser ripping a hole to another dimension. No worries, my guy, say less.
Do you even know how to drive?
How hard can it be? Max did it.
That's Marxist.
Could be useful.
For what?
What do you think? Taking out commies?
That's Marxist.
1, 2, 3. Oh, holy shit. This is gonna work.
Premature cerebration.
I can't believe I'm gonna die in a secret Russian base with Steve the Hare Harrington.
That's not true. The base isn't really a secret anymore. You're gonna die in a regular Russian base with Steve the Hare Harrington.
Do you even remember me from that class?
Skip.
Watch out for rip currents!
Telling your kids to watch out for rip currents, but not making sure he wears a life jacket. Or in this case, the 70s.
Philadelphia Public Library.
Nice try, Spy Dude. The public library system in Philadelphia is called the Free Library of Philadelphia. You just blew your cover.
I'm gonna need you to stay calm.
No, don't you dare patronize me.
And that's the cue to alleviate my bladder. Sorry, Joy's being patronized and then losing her in the politest way possible is so predictable that I've started to set my toilet breaks by them. I hear it's the same system they use at NASA. Looks like someone went to the BDSM School of Villain Doctoring.
You think you're so smart, but a couple of kids who scoop ice cream for a living cracked your code in a day.
You know, Robin, I wouldn't labor that point too much. It might expose that these aren't actually Russians at all, but are instead part of some scripted universe that required you to figure out the code to progress the third adventure of a story you didn't even know you were in.
The Hopper's calling the U.S. cavalry. They're gonna come in here commando style, guns a-blazing.
I doubt it. Horses hate elevators. Listen, I'm all in on Attack of the Nerds here, but how did Dustin and Erica figure out where Steve and Robin were being held? And how did they time the acid discovery so perfectly? To be clear, these two children outsmarted an entire base of not just Russian soldiers, but highly intelligent Russian scientists too. And the fact that most of the outsmarting happened off-screen would seem to back up my righteous, if misplaced, outrage.
What diaries? A for a son?
Instead of finding out where Billy has been the last few weeks, Elle's powers take us to where he's been his entire life. Sure, you can explain it away as a fluke of her powers, but it also feels like a fluke of conveniently showing us Billy's tragic backstory in service of some empathy exposition. Yuck! That's my least favorite type of exposition. Cool time capsule with a phone book, but on the Brimborn sign in Elle's vision, Steelworks was 2 words. Here it's 1 word. So the sin here is for advertising consistency in the 80s.
Mike?
Well, if Inception taught me anything, it's that now is when you pull out your totem. Quick, flip your Eggo waffle and see what side it lands on.
Because now I see you.
Yeah, but you could have seen her a lot sooner. She's literally hiding in her home. How many places does the Mind Flayer think she could be hiding? They've got half of Hawkins flayed, so why not send out some scouts to the 3 locations history tells you they could possibly be? If you're going to have the Mind Flayer go full kaiju, I better see it destroy all of downtown Hawkins. Otherwise, continue doling out damage via telepathy and possession until you've got the entire state of Indiana. The rest of America might not even notice. Episode of Stranger Things ends with something gross screaming at me. Cliché. The fact that there's a fun slide implies the existence of a not fun slide. And frankly, I refuse to believe in such a sad possibility. Resting your mouth on this disgusting metal bar that hasn't been cleaned since the ride was first assembled in 1957.
He said he was building something, that it was all for me.
The reply I received from Santa Claus somehow makes it into the episode. And the worst part is, I received an abacus that year.
Building something. Is he talking about the flayed? He must be.
No evidence is provided for why he must be. And Nancy will end up being right, even though there is a very real possibility that the Mind Flayer is working on his Legoland airport. As they make preparations better suited to fighting off a zombie horde, no one asks if this is all just a futile homage. I mean, they just saw the flayed monster punching down trees a moment ago. A boarded up window will likely be less of a challenge. Also, how on earth do they have enough time to do all this? The flayed monster was just down the road and closing fast. It's like he's giving them time to barricade the doors and windows.
Hey, get away from the windows.
Thinking that walls are going to somehow fare better than windows against this thing. Fortunately, despite the monster having 6 legs, it only uses 2 at the most when tearing into the house, so our heroes can rebuff them. Sure is nice of the monster to give the kids a handicap like that. Okay, fine. This is an intense action-packed scene. I'm fully on board to see the gang kick some monster butt and fight to save their friend. Take the sin back. And here you'll see the elusive Mind Flayer using pointless intimidation tactics after wounding its prey. What could possibly be stopping this hulking behemoth from dealing the death blow? Why, it's the thousands of years of evolution that have given it the ability to sense when it hasn't yet reached the final showdown. Nature is truly amazing. Oh, hey, Elle, I was thinking, and let me know if I'm out of line here, but would it be possible for you to tear the monster in half before we all almost die, or does me almost crapping my pants somehow make you stronger?
88 miles per hour!
Going for the low-hanging fruit that is Back to the Future to show your episode is set in the summer of 1985. Why not go for something a little less obvious, like Silverado? Throw your cinephiles a bone, Duffer Bros. Reminding me I can no longer experience what it's like going to a movie theater in a world without smartphones.
Laying low, cooling off, like Oswald.
Dustin chooses to reference a political assassination instead of a nerdy bit of beloved nostalgia, as we have come to expect and appreciate.
Oswald was found in the theater and shot to death.
A week later.
He was not shot in the theater as this phrasing would suggest, and it was 2 days later. The Hawkins school system needs to step it up.
This interminable bickering was amusing at first, but it's getting very stale.
Murray would be excellent at TVSins.
Well, you're just a big man, baby.
Man kids.
No, first we need to stop the bleeding, then clean, then disinfect, then bandage.
I skateboard, trust me.
Based on that logic, Tony Hawk must be a cardiovascular surgeon by now.
Does any of this help?
No,
Thinking Elle wouldn't appreciate that Tootsie Roll.
that doesn't look like a bowl.
Nah, it's way better.
My agreement with Lucas doesn't mean that Max should have stuck around to hear Lucas's theory of exploding everything. In fact, it means the opposite.
Being broken up, it's been hard.
Whoa, now is not the time for that, Mike.
You know, like the phrase, like, blank makes you crazy, like the word.
Mike forces his conversation on Elle while she's injured and can't escape. And the show doesn't realize he's doing a misery 2 years before the book and 5 years before the movie.
Dustin, you're breaking up.
Mike, the antenna on that model of walkie-talkie extends to 4 feet. You get better reception if you just use all the length you've been given.
Do you have any batteries? AA?
How would I have batteries?
They may not be AA, but one reason might be the 2 flashlights taped to your helmet.
No, but he went back in time.
Then why is it called Back to the Future?
Being this far along into your LSD trip without realizing that time is a construct.
I can help look. You know, you'll scare the children.
And more importantly, other than Nancy and Jonathan, he doesn't know what they look like. This egregious beverage slurping is on par with Brad Pitt drinking Pepsi for an entire scene in World War Z.
I'm talking about new Coke.
Episode has time to talk about new Coke. Stranger Things forcing me to see chunky things.
When was the last time you peed your pants?
Not being explicit about whether or not other people's pee counts, because sitting on that floor, the answer should be quite obvious.
I feel like this summer I have laughed harder than I have laughed in a really long time.
Yeah, but part of that was because you were drugged by the KGB. Just why?
Tammy Thompson's a girl.
Steve.
Yeah? Oh.
Well, damn. More than a few TV series should study this as an example of how to write a scene about a character coming out to their best friends. Just 14 words, no unnecessary drama, and it feels like the most natural exchange in the world. Go ahead and take a scent off before I realize that Steve's now genuinely a good person.
She sounds like a Muppet giving birth.
Citation needed. Billy hasn't been dissolved and put into the flesh monster yet, so that we could get the Wolverine we didn't know we needed. And so the show would have a recognizable villain for the last couple of episodes. Darren Aronofsky's Stranger Things. Building a Kansas machine that turns people into dust in the wind, but not wayward sons or perfect lovers.
Hold the ride!
On your life, Magnum!
Episode takes 38 minutes for someone to finally defeat Hopper. Return to Oz. Day of the Dead isn't listed on this wall, and yet the main characters watched it in the first episode of this season. That was just a couple of days ago in Stranger Things time, so where are its show times?
One more for the big prize!
In the previous scene, Alexi was given tickets to play the carnival games, but the balloon up there says it costs 50 cents for 3 darts. So which is it? Do the games cost cash or tickets? I know movies and TV shows like to pretend silencers muffle the sounds of guns entirely, but in reality, they only reduce the sound by 20 to 35 decibels. And there's no way this guy shoots a gun at a carnival without at least a few people noticing. And no amount of creatively singing it with a balloon pop is going to change that. No one notices Murray shouting and Alexi bleeding to death because of funnel cake, I'm guessing.
Jim! They got Alexi, Jim!
Downplaying your involvement in Alexi's death. Also, Hopper's not nearly dizzy enough for having just gotten off that ride.
We gotta go.
I guess Hopper shouldn't have disbanded the Hawkins police force. I don't remember it happening, but that's the only thing I can think of that would explain the lack of police presence at the fair.
Find Murray. Get the car.
There is no way to be certain that the Russian baddie will follow him and not Joyce, but it works for reasons.
Alexi! Oh my God.
Show introduces a likable new character who dies before the season ends. Cliché. I'm not the one who gets to kick a politician in the nuts in this scene. This typical Hall of Mirrors gives them time to reflect. Grigori takes multiple shots to the chest so we'll think he's dead, but then he's all like, surprise, I was wearing a bulletproof vest. See you in the finale, assholes. Hopper takes the time to prove that a cop can go down a slide without getting owned. No one asks, Gde zdejs? I get that this is set during the Cold War, but there were non-lethal options that may have even been easier than throwing a car, like bending their guns or pantsing them. Just saying, in this instance, murder was the first resort. And Dustin loves murder, apparently.
Elle has superpowers.
I'm sorry?
Superpower. She threw it with her mind. Come on, catch up.
Steve's explaining.
Russians? But what Russians?
The Russians!
Those were Russians?
I'm beginning to think there might be Russians.
What are you talking about? I couldn't understand half of what you were saying.
How many times do I have to tell you with the low battery?
Worked out, we almost died.
Hey, Elle, tell me you're tired of listening to all of this bickering without telling me you're tired of listening to all of this bickering. My sentiments exactly.
We don't know it's your kids.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's one of the many other groups of kids in Hawkins who've been investigating the Upside Down with a superpowered science experiment on their team. All the kids are doing it nowadays. Throwing this parasite away so it has a chance to infect somebody else instead of smashing it into the ground right next to you. Hopper and Joyce prioritized this badass entrance instead of sprinting as fast as they could to the sound of their kids screaming across the mall. Personally, I think they f***ing nailed it, but this was certainly a choice.
But instead of like screws and metal, the Mind Flayer made its weapon with melted people.
If you play all of Steve's lines backwards, you actually hear a satanic verse, which roughly translates as previously on Stranger Things.
But if we close the gate again
Cut the brain off from the body.
and kill it, theoretically.
A theory that is based on some kind of similar stuff that happened to Will, but mostly Dungeons & Dragons logic. And it will end up being 100% right. I'm just saying, no one has a plan for what happens if the flesh-legged freak doesn't go into standby mode once the gate is closed.
Where's the gate?
Right here. I don't know the scale on this, but I think it's fairly close to the vault room, maybe 50 feet or so.
Which is a useless guess when you just admitted you don't know the scale. Letting them go in blind is honestly more helpful than a random guess that gives them false confidence.
I'm sorry, why is this 4-year-old speaking to me?
I'm 10, you bald bastard.
Kids.
Well, that settles it. He's gonna die.
Sinclair shadowing. Well, kinda. I mean, it absolutely would be if TV shows felt able to keep dead characters dead.
You need something with a high enough frequency band to relay with the Russians' radio tower. But for that to work,
Dustin wastes all of the time they don't have by listing all the obstacles to a problem he already has a solution to instead of just saying, I can make these radios work. Also, what incredible luck that the season they needed a high-powered radio tower at the highest point in Hawkins is the same season where Dustin just so happened to have made a high-powered radio tower at the highest point in Hawkins.
Where are we going?
weather top.
Weather what?
Just drive.
The direction doesn't matter because this scene's about to end and we'll already be there when the episode cuts back to us.
You just stick close to your brother and do whatever he says.
Giving this sort of power to an older brother and expecting the younger brother to survive.
I'm gonna be fine.
She's right. If they killed off Joyce, who else would figure out everything next season only to be scoffed at and called crazy by all the other characters who have watched her solve mystery after mystery?
Oh, you're bleeding.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
She is not. I don't remember seeing anyone stitching up Elle's leg, so I guess we're just gonna assume she won't be dying of massive blood loss this episode.
What the hell? What? The ignition cable's gone.
Okay, here's Billy's plan. Step 1, get to the mall, find kids. Step 2, do not kill kids immediately. Instead, remove the ignition cable from their car and then park a million miles away. Step 3, wait for them to get in the car and instead of attacking them while they're trapped, wait for them to get out of the car, figure out the ignition cable is missing, and then rev the engine really loud. Step 4, let them run back into the mall. Steps 5 through 9, smolder into mirror. Step 10, victory.
So then I yank those cables like I'm pulling weeds.
And that'll set off the alarm.
Which should give you two an opening to retrieve the keys from the vault.
But that's assuming this alarm causes everyone guarding the vault, the keys, and the gate to leave their posts, right? Isn't it at least possible that an alarm will result in more guards being sent to these very sensitive areas?
I didn't say it was a bad plan.
You made noise.
Okay, I've had it with the Hopper and Joyce bullshit. It stopped being endearing 3 episodes into season 1. It doesn't add anything to their relationship, and it's the main reason your finale is over an hour long.
If it all goes right, they'll never even know we were here.
Wow, that celebration was so premature, I don't think its parents have even met yet.
Лейтенант? Какой лейтенант?
Lieutenant Molotov?
Murray will come up with an obscure Russian beverage later in the episode, but suddenly blanks on making a convincing Russian name here because someone thought we needed a humorous beat before Hopper murdered these poor people who just came to do a job today.
No chance that thing will drive, right?
We don't need it to drive. We just need the ignition cable.
I don't know many car things, but I'm pretty sure that the connecty things for the ignition cable in that car aren't guaranteed to be compatible with the connecty things in Nancy's car, Jonathan.
Новенькие. Вчера вечером прилетели.
This stormtrooper infiltration plan works.
Bald Eagle, do you copy?
We reach the vent. I'll contact you when I need you. Until then, silence.
Why wasn't the radio silence rule already in place? What if Dustin's message had come through a minute earlier while they were trying to get past the guard? Also, what's stopping the Russians from picking up this radio signal too? Trying to blame New Coke for your loss of telekinetic abilities. It wasn't that bad.
Also, I guess the showrunners got so fed up with us sending Elle swooping in and saving the day that they mixed things up for this season. Oh boy, are they going to be mad when they realize nerfing an overpowered character to make a finale more interesting gets you even more sins. Nothing to see here, people. Definitely not Elle confidently running on a leg that was cut open and had human fingers wriggling inside it a few minutes ago. The arrival of the organ octopus reminds me that this multi-million-dollar mall apparently has no CCTV or security system at all. Why does no one seem to care that it's being broken into? Murray bemoans hitting his head instead of being thankful that the super secret base managed to install ventilation shafts more than big enough and sturdy enough to accommodate a human being crawling around in them.
Hey, guys.
Implied. You better come take a look at this cliches.
Griswold says...
You pressed the button and screamed. Why the f*** would I do this?
I told you, radio silence!
Which is pretty redundant considering your apparent disregard for actually in a secret Russian base silence.
It's turned away.
Good thing the monster operates on Nazgul ring hunting rules. They can track the ring across Middle-earth, but once they're within 20 feet of it, they're practically blind. The Mind Flayer is a busy critter, but it's nice to know he occasionally takes some me time to read War of the Worlds. This sudden lunge is scary because we know this is where the kids were just sitting, but what did the tentacle think was going on here? Why did it lunge when there's nothing here?
What are you doing? Don't worry.
I think the best way to make her not worry is to share your f***ing plan, Sinclair. A plan you're only hiding so it will be a surprise to the audience. There's no reason to keep Nancy in the dark here. Which leads us right into a round I like to call, why the f*** did you spend so much time aiming at the monster if your goal was to hit the balloon? All he did was make this shot more difficult, and the only benefit is that we'll be shocked for a few seconds thinking that he's aiming for the monster. This is so f***ing weird when you remember they're actually living this. Also, the leggy lasagna has been lunging around but decides now is the perfect time to creep as slowly as possible, so Lucas has time for this fake out. This works. Also, why is nobody questioning the presence of a woman in a base that has, until this point, consisted entirely of male soldiers and officers? Nancy decides to accept her fate instead of diving out of the way at the last second, and none of the kids decide to get out of the car. But I'm sure it's because they all saw but didn't react to this perfectly timed speeding Harrington ex machina. In case you confused it with Salt Lake City, Texas. So why is it that Susie's radio can be in her house and doesn't need to be at a really high point like Dustin's? Of course, the answer is that she can't save the day if she's not next to the receiver, and it would be insane luck if she just happened to be at her end if it wasn't conveniently located in her room.
Jed is also saving Earthsea, and he's about to confront the Shadow.
Jed isn't saving Earthsea by confronting the Shadow, he's saving himself. The Shadow has been chasing him all over the archipelago. Why don't you stick to math since literary analysis clearly isn't your strong point, Susie?
The answer to a never-ending story.
The episode has adorable payoff time for this. Possessed Billy settles for knocking out Max and Mike instead of killing them. He's obviously confident there's no way those pesky kids will interfere when they wake up. That's totally not a thing they've repeatedly done at every opportunity.
1, 2.
And exactly which dimension did he operate from? Do the Russians have a Stargate back here? I'm not sure why they're so obsessed with this gate when they've clearly mastered the ability to appear out of thin air. So the Mind Flayer's goal is to create this monster to kill Elle. So if dealing with Elle is job number 1, why go through the drama of presenting her body to the monster? Billy's an extension of the Mind Flayer, just like the monster is. So does it really matter which one of them kills her? Man, this creepy mouth coming out of a larger mouth is so cool. How'd they come up with such an alien concept?
Play this, you ugly piece of shit.
Behold, as the painstakingly crafted Don't Play with Fireworks PSA campaign is undone quicker than you can say, "Flay this, you ugly piece of shit." Also, what's your guess? Am I going to sin that this fireworks display actually hurts this monster? Am I going to sin that it's very lucky that all this happened around the 4th of July? Will I sin that the monster should just suck it up and kill Elle anyway? Or do I throw a real curveball and remove a sin for an imaginative and visually fun climax that didn't result in shotguns and Elle screaming at something? Or maybe just all of the above. Well, would you look at that? This chaotic bare-knuckle fight has strategically choreographed itself out of the boring control room into a much more visually interesting location.
She was pretty. She was really pretty.
Elle's strategy here is to remind Billy how hot his mother was, which is weird. Has she been watching a pirated copy of Back to the Future with Hopper?
I'll see you in hell!
Scene accidentally manifests that god-awful Hopper Hellboy movie. Judging by the convenient position of this electricity, it appears the gate laser wasn't a fan of Hopper's arc this season either. The monster decides to use all of its tentacles killing Billy, instead of, using just one or two and sending the rest to deal with Elle. Just gonna go ahead and file a Hopper survives this ahead of time. Also, it's kind of weird that Joyce doesn't realize Hopper survives this when he is clearly not standing anywhere in sight as the machine blows up.
Jim, where's Jim?
It's weird that this isn't the first character called Jim, who people assume died after being zapped by an energy beam, only to have survived and be transported to a different place. Kind of figured that would be a once-in-a-generation occurrence. Tops. For once, this article is actually covering the events that we've just witnessed. However, it says that it happened on a Sunday when July 4th of 1985 would have been a Thursday. Oh, so close.
The one with the DeLorean and Alex P. Keaton, and he's trying to bang his mom.
I know you're high, but if you remember this much from Back to the Future, you should know Alex P. Keaton's mom was trying to bang him, not the other way around.
What if you want to join another party? Not possible.
Thinking you can only be in one D&D party at a time. In college, I was in like 3 parties at the same time. That's actually why my girlfriend dumped me, but the joke's on her. I got my half-orc cleric up to level 20 in a single year. Who's crying now, Rebecca? Not me. Not me.
This wise man once said...
Ooh, I know this one. He said, skip.
They'll come back. I know they will.
Yeah, but you'll spend half the season in a weird CGI filter to get them back. So ask yourself, are they really worth it, Elle?
I started to feel things again. I started to feel happy.
Dead character reads emotional letter that is somehow aptly appropriate, even though at the time of the writing, they couldn't have known it would be read after their death. Cliché. Also, this speech has been going on for several minutes, and while I haven't done a word count, I do not believe for a second that a letter this long would fit on that tiny sheet of paper, even if you do write it front and back.
Time to go.
Thing I've been saying to this episode when it finished 10 minutes ago somehow makes it into the script.
Не американцы.
So this mid-credit scene here is to tell us that the Russians have an American and a bipedal demo dog thing. Cool. Go Russia. I'll be sure to hold on to this excitement for the 3 years until season 4.
I thought it would taste like chicken, but I was wrong.
This is a no touching zone.
Can you please drive faster?
I don't like driving fast and forward, and I don't like driving fast and backward.
Bleep blop, no bra detected. Wiener status half job.
Careful, these pools run deep.
All my filth is in alphabetical order. This, for example, was under H for toy.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No, this is Patrick.
So you're talking...
No. We're not talking. We're just talking.
It is inevitable.
I want you to build.
If you build, you will come.
I'm stressed. I'm having a hallucination caused by stress.
Gag me with a spoon.
Why a spoon, cousin? Why not an axe?
Because it's dull, you twit. It'll hurt more.
There's gotta be more.
It's fantastic. I was a bit hazy what I would find at Peppa Pig World, but I loved it. And Peppa Pig World is very much my kind of place.
Robin.
No.
Why did you say that name?
Because that's how this works, Henderson.
When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
Where is who?
I'll do you one better. Who's Gamora?
Call 911!
Oh no, he died!
Whatever this is, whatever he's got you into, you don't have to do this. You can stop this.
I will rip your soul out, Daddy.
What are you wearing?
Miami Vice.
I'm looking for the name of a guy.
As you wish.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly. Go get my goddamn phone book!
You think this is funny, huh?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
We've clearly established that those buttons don't work.
Button. Who's got the button?
Что, американская полиция?
They speak English and what?
I'm gonna blow some daylight into that thick skull of yours. No.
I must break you.
Joyce, drive.
I'm
Joyce,
trying.
please. Loud noises!
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Where is he? Is he safe?
Yes, it's safe. It's very safe. It's so safe you wouldn't believe it.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Убери это с моего лица, ты лысая американская свинья.
I saw that guy. He wasn't bald. He had a shaved head.
Looks like he rockets roasting on the game!
It's unfair, not funfair.
It should take us approximately 12 and a half days.
We had 2 bags of grass, 75 pellets of mescaline, 5 sheets of high-powered blotter acid.
Maybe they have all the chemicals they need.
But once you get locked into a serious drug collection, the tendency is to push it as far as you can.
В нашей стране раньше было много таких.
It was in essence a sophisticated heat beam which we called a laser.
Somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
He said he was building something. He also said
he loves food, he loves travel.
Do you guys hear that?
Why are we whispering?
I'll pay for that.
Elle.
Yeah.
El Nino is Spanish for the Nino.
Ooh, yum.
What's the plan? Take Carl, go to Mum's, kill Phil, grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
What the hell?
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Washer fluid is not fine.
We're gonna take a walk in the woods.